Oh, you poor old thing. Hi guys, thanks for coming back. You know, last time we were working on this when we cut it apart and welded in, well, tacked in the new windshield frame, the upper part. We went through all of the problems with this cab, and there's a few we've got to take care of. But I don't think it's insurmountable. Let's take a look at what we're going to start with. Now, obviously, we're still looking like Frankenstein's monster, right? And we'll get to it, you know. We'll repair all this. But what really concerns me is this bit right here. Now, I have some things in motion to hopefully get a tool to reproduce this body line, this belt line here. But what I'm talking about is that is all rusted out because the bottom piece and the top piece are two different layers and they overlap right at this belt line. And what is going to keep a guy from sleeping at night is the fact that there is no way the sandblaster man could get in between those. So we make this whole thing pretty, we prime it, we block it, we paint it, and a year, 2 years down the road, whatever, are we going to start seeing rust bleed through our belt line once again. A guy has to get this apart and take care of it. Maybe not has to. What would you do? Now, a lot of our spot welds along the bottom where this back wall meets the floor, those spot welds are already popped loose. I think just going around the curves are still holding it together. And I don't know if you can see it from your vantage point, there is also pinholes rusted through right there. So we would have to put a patch on there. What I think I need to do, when I hold the light up here, you can certainly see our spot welds holding the two pieces together. So I'm going to come along and drill those out, and that should all come loose, and we'll finish getting them along the bottom. And then that just remains the few on the pillar here that would need to be drilled out, and this thing should pop off of there. And I don't think I even need to worry too much about measurements, about marking it or anything, because in cases like our little door bumper pocket here, so on and so forth, it kind of just has to be in one spot. Once it's lined up with the belt, that'll be lined up. It has to go where it has to go. I'm going to go get a drill in a bit and we'll start tackling these welds. Oh boy. Besides, all these back braces are broken off. I mean, not that one. Okay, well, sorry. I was just messing with it and it broke. I mean, it was like that when I got here, right? No, that's what we wanted to happen. So evidently your great grandpappy, when he welded this thing together down at the Chevy plant in aught 40, you know, obviously the bottom had to go on first, you know, because the top was overlapping it. So I drilled out a few spot welds up here, and then I put a 3/4 bolt just for spacers on each end, because this had to slip out from underneath this, and that wasn't going to happen unless this was away from the pillar. And then it was a little sticky, you know, as these welds are, as they do. Let's see if we can get this one now. Tell you what, let's just... No? Yeah. That's what I wanted. Now we can come in here and clean all of this out. And all of this up. And just make sure, and then we can coat it with something, some Pour 15 or something. Just help to make sure that it is not gonna re-rust again. Ah yes, see here on this side? So we'll have to come up with something for that. Well, let's see what old Haas does to this dent here. Let me get little Haas. Little Joe, where are you? I was using you. I saw you fell down somewhere. Little Joe, where are you? You're on a cart. Ah, Nova engine. Little Joe, coming in. Coming at you. Coming at you, Little Joe. Well, that's the lion's share. I'll finish up with the dolly and hammer there. But I am going to make a pattern, see if we can take care of this thing. All right, well, there's a definite disadvantage to doing things, making patterns this way, or patches, I should say. Especially when you have a round hole you're having to make, it's harder to cut out, right? Probably be a lot smarter to cut out a nice square and then cut a square hole in the panel, but I don't know. I guess I want a challenge. All right. There's our egg. going to finish the bodywork portion of all that on that rear panel when it's back on the cab. It'll just be a whole lot easier doing the straightening and all of that. But it's on. I mean, as far as that gas filler hole goes, it is more than adequate where it is right now to just put filler over it. So I'm going to turn my attention to this rear brace. Obviously we have some issues here to take care of. Just going to do some reference points. I've drawn in chalk an outline on the table, and I've got some reference marks. So let's do this. And then out of that GMC, it wasn't the best either, but the bad spots on here were doable on the GMC cab or whatever it was. You know, obviously this is much, much better, and where it's kind of bad, we got that other those vertical rear braces going on. So we can work with that. So, now that I've got my outline to match it up later, whoops, I forgot my sign. This guy. Oh, that's great. Now I will cut this. And hopefully we can get it back together very close. Well, here's our across the cab brace, you know. That's all welded in. It obviously needs to be cleaned up yet. And then on the very ends, I think we have some, I was pretty sure, yeah, we got a little cracking going on here and there. So that'll all be finished up, cleaned up, ready to go. So the next thing for our inner construction along the back panel is we need to make 3 complete vertical braces again. I've got one here, one is still on the cab, and then this one I pulled it out of the yellow donor cab. Again, you can see that pretty original blue. Where's the sunlight? Where are you? I don't think you can, anyway. So yeah, I got a bead roller in the vise, and we will try to get this in there. A guy spent an enjoyable afternoon in a town not too far away with a guy that is excellent at drawing in CAD. He does a lot of it for his living, fabrication work they do. And he drew up several parts for me for the tools I sell on eBay. And then these little honeys here. No, I'm not making hammers for a piano, but it kind of looks like it. These are the profile of our cab bead belt line. So I'm hoping we can make a press. This is MDF. He drew them up for me based on a profile gauge and sent me the files, and then I sent it to Send Cut Send. They cut them out. They also cut out some of those Chevy 3-speed transmission vice stands that I make. And this guy also drew up some more of those timing cover centering tools. And I need to get that raw material to a machinist. Anyway, I am making a form out of 2x4 to put these in, and I was just testing to see how we're looking. The guy put in 3/8 holes, thinking that we could hold all these together with a rod. However, that was a little oversized when I got it back, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But anyway, I just decided to do this. This would be a little more robust, I hope. You know, it doesn't need to do too much. What I'm going to do now, I will probably wood glue, take all these out, put wood glue in there, and put them all back in. But I want to make end caps here on each end, and then drill a hole straight through both of these on the drill press, and have a bolt or a pin lining both of these up perfectly. I know there's going to be a little slop factor because it's wood after all, but you know, if we can get one good patch panel out of this, that's all we need to get. 1/2 inch, surprisingly, is the thickest Send Cut Send offers in MDF, which I'm glad they offer it at all. It was dirt cheap compared to any other metal. So I thought about doing aluminum, but I think for as little as we need to do, this is going to work just fine. Well, good morning. I believe I recorded, I think I recorded first person view of these pieces. If not, I'll try to give you better detail. I don't remember where stuff went, but I did a trial, made our little form, belt line form. I did a trial last night, ran out to the 39, and I'll do that again with you. Run that through the press on here, and it seems to work. So let's take a closer look at what we've got and try to pop out a panel here. So you can see what a guy did with the 2 halves with our piano hammers, you know. Glued and screwed some wood blocks on the ends, so give me a place for some guide pins, just carriage bolts, 6-inch long carriage bolts. Then I got really professional. I had some coil springs in my arsenal, so I threw those in there. So it just, you know, we just got an automatic. I mean, we're automated here. Just put some nuts on top to keep it all together, and away we go. Put her in there. Get a steel spreader bar, and I'll go get my piece. Very curious. This is 8x8, so we're at max capacity here. Let's go 3 inches. You know, obviously it did the job with a 2-inch wide piece, or whatever it is. I'll just try to get this somewhat square. don't know that that's a good sound, but we'll just keep pushing. I'm gonna hit you. I don't know if I'm hearing my springs or it's the metal, but I think we bottomed out there. I'm going to pull the panel up just a little bit to sharpen that bend. Something like that. One thing I was worried about was spring back. One thing I kind of wanted to do, but I didn't want to get it all over the wooden form, was lubrication, you know, and that probably would have helped. Maybe some wax or something. But anyway, here at the 39, so when I just kind of do my best to hold it here, obviously on this one that's completely formed, on the cowl, we could sharpen this bottom here. But the part we're replacing is on the back of the cab. And it ends, you know, it ends before the transition down here. So, and we may have to sharpen that just a little bit. Body form it, curve it around a little bit. But other than that, I mean, I don't think you could have a more convenient way to form that than that. Nice. Guys, I redid it, and slightly thinner piece of metal. That first piece I used ended up being quite a bit thicker than I wanted. But there we go. We're not quite out of the woods yet. I obviously will need to trim the bottom end here, and maybe get it slightly more curved. And then there is kind of a general radius this way, obviously, as the cab goes, not too much. So we'll have to put some curve in it there. But for now, I am going to probably use all of this just to play it safe. We may end up having to put a little bit of a patch there. So if we take a little gander across here, these black lines represent the bad area that's in the belt line itself. There's about an inch more hanging over here, and actually there's some pinholes way over here as well. So we may just take care of a lot of that with a flat piece of metal by itself. But between these lines, if we put a straight edge across it, for the most part, we just get a little gap here. And in fact, if I even push up and put, you know, I'm not 100% sure where we're going to end up. But we really don't have that much of a crown on that. I've got this fitting pretty nice between, you know, putting it in the brake and tightening up that bend really helped a lot. So I think a shrinker stretcher, you know, that's been on my want list for years, and it would be helpful in this situation, but I think we can get by without it. All right, I've got it tacked in. I'm just gonna tack in these two, or weld in these two sides solid, make a little patch here. We can do a little bit of body work, hammer and dolly work, get some curve into it, and then we're gonna call it good, and I'll go patch that side as well. All right, we've got some perforations over here, so I think if I went an inch past that, I'm also gonna come in and cut this out an inch. About 5 inches would do it, I would think. So maybe somewhere like this. I don't think I need to go much higher. I started getting into some bad metal there, but let's just go an inch up above, you know. Why not? It's about a 3 by 5. And I know this all looks pretty rough yet. You just gotta hang on to your hats, fellers. It's not nearly finished. Well, the piece is out, and there's a very obvious curve to the cab going that direction, you know. But when we look at it this way, there is a very slight curve. I'm not sure how to show you this. I can't tell what's going on the camera, but tracking cancel, what does that mean? Anyway, you know, there's a slight cup to it going that way, very, very slight. So I suppose what a guy ought to do is cut my piece, probably run home and run this through my little slip roller. Should probably really bring that slip roller here. But you know, it weighs more than 2 pounds and therefore is inconvenient to move. So anyway, not that this is convenient, but I think that's where I'll start, see if we can kind of match this. probably going to break 100 degrees outside today, which means in this part of the shop, it's the broiler and I'm the hot dog, basically. So this may be about it on the cab for right now. I can find something to do in the semi-insulated, slightly 20 degrees cooler portion of the shop for the rest of the day. My battery died while I was tacking that in like a boss, you know, so that's unfortunate. But we got them both in. We got them fitting really nice. We got the curves matching really nice. This really breaks away here to get to the belt line, and I think I got that really nice. This is going to be kind of a pain, but shouldn't be too bad. Anyway, I'm going to take a little break, and we'll get back to this and weld them up later. I had to take out some old junk, the cab corner seals down there below, and so I texted a guy. I happen to know the VCCA's truck tech for these personally. Yeah. You know what he said? Go to Home Depot in their weather stripping section and find something. He has a good sense of humor. I'm just kidding. But anyway, I will have to do that. Right now, what I am doing is all of these overlapping pieces that all get spot welded back together, and then you can't gain access to them once it's done, as well as the insides of my pillars, the back of my seat, whatever you want to call it, stand, frame. That's all getting pour 15, so when I go back together, it'll be a little bit better than factory and be sealed up, and hopefully we won't get rust leaching through any brand new paint. The only reason I mentioned him is because I know he's a good sport. At least I hope you are. Now, if we follow the firewall on down, we get clear into the bottom, and we have this inner wall down here at the bottom of the cowl that you can see is all rusted out. I think that's gonna be our next objective as far as fab work. Is I think I have pretty much decided I need to pop both of those out, and it seems to be that's just support structure for the bottom end of the cowl sheet metal. There's no, there's no structure underneath it. They just put a second wall in there to make it rigid. And obviously, where it is, all the crud from the ages falls down in there, and this is the result. So I think that is an excellent opportunity to make a buck out of wood, and we will form that, doing that age-old process, and we will do both sides. The right side behind you isn't nearly as bad, but why not? We are there, right? So I think really in the end, that's just our better option for that, and we will do that next time. Did I say that? Anyway, we're gonna do that next time. All right, that is that for now. I was gonna do the same thing up in here where it's really susceptible to mice and mouse nest, and I suppose water leaks as well coming through the windshield wiper transmission hole there, so on and so forth. But I have enough welding to do up there yet. It would just, could go either way. I mean, but anyway, I decided I'd just wait until all of that is done. Then we can coat that. But yeah, that ought to do a pretty good job. Now, when I put the lower panel on the back again, I may even go as far as hitting that bead or that belt line on the inside with some brush on body sealer, panel sealer. That may make a little bit of a mess trying to weld things back, spot weld it back together, but I don't think it'd be a big deal. I guess we'll have to find out. Anyway, just really trying to minimize, I doubt that would ever happen again. I'm assuming this pickup will be taken much better care of in the future. But, you want it to be leak proof and rattle proof and rust proof, as much as you can. So that'd be nice if I could just brush on some sealer in there, put it together, spot weld it, and away we go. We'll see. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna let that all dry, and next thing we can do on this is start piecing that back together. But above all, I really don't want you guys to worry about it, because next time I think we're gonna do that. Anyway, this is where we're at. We have got quite a bit done. Pieces, parts, things and stuff, patches, painting, and we are about ready to start throwing this thing back together before we cut more apart. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me, guys. God bless you. We'll see you on the next one. Oh, and by the way, I think we're going to do that other thing I mentioned next time. Maybe.